الله 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 نور السماوات والأرض. Lantern of light, evolving together.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome on Lantern of Light's Mental Health Wellbeing podcast. Once again with me, your host, Sakina Habib. I hope you're all keeping in good health, inshallah. And once again, we're bringing to you a very impactful discussion as always. When we talk about mental health awareness, specifically in women, it is very, very crucial due to the unique challenges that we as women face, which differ from men's experiences. Women are more likely to experience mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety disorders, and eating disorders influenced by a combination of biological, psychological, and social factors. These could be factors such as hormonal changes, societal pressures, and gender norms, as well as the trauma and resilience that women go through. Around 20% of women experience common mental health problems like depression and anxiety. Nearly 45% of women report a mental health condition at some point in their lives. Untreated mental health issues can affect relationships, productivity, and physical health, underscoring the need for timely support as well as intervention. So it's very important to promote mental health awareness and support via education and advocacy, breaking stigma, and of course, self-care and social support with a special focus on life stages. On today's program, these are some of the key points that we'll be discussing with an expertise that inshallah I'll be inviting on board with us in a couple of minutes. But before that, I would want you to watch a very impactful video that will make you understand and give you a whole layout of what our discussion is going to be about today. So let's take a look at the video.
Poor mental health of young people is a growing concern. Young women are more likely to struggle with their mental health than young men, and mental ill health affects minority ethnic populations differently, with research showing more long-term depression among Muslims compared with others. The I Am Adapted study is a research study looking at a new faith-based therapy program developed by the Inspirited Minds charity. The program is being delivered in Birmingham and London for young Muslim women aged between 18 and 24 and with depression or low mood. Young women who would like to take part in our study will be allocated to either the new faith-based intervention, which consists of group therapy sessions developed to reflect the Muslim faith and culture, or a standard support group, which is a mental health program similar to those provided by the NHS. Over 6 weeks, participants will attend one group session a week, delivered by trained therapists and supported by mental health support workers at a mosque or community centre. To help the study team understand how the sessions might have helped, participants will be asked to complete questionnaires at the start of the study, at the end of the group sessions, and then again 6 months after joining the study. They will also have the opportunity to take part in a discussion to tell us more about their experiences of the sessions. To find out more, please visit our website or contact the study team by email.
So there it is. You've watched the video, and if you are a young Muslim woman between the age of 18 to 24 based in Birmingham or London, then this is the right opportunity for you. Now, without much further ado, I would like to introduce our guest on today's program who will be shedding light more on this. We have with us a positive psychology coach, MSc Neuroscience and Psychology of Mental Health, nurse and social worker. And of course, you all know her very well. She's been on Lantern of Light's couple of mental health programs and podcasts with us, Sister Farzana Hirji Karawali. And inshallah, I would like to welcome her on board.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hi, Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Sister Farzana? Hope you're well.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's an
Alhamdulillah.
absolute pleasure. Alhamdulillah, likewise. So, Sister Farzana, I want you to tell us about this, the I Am Adopted study that was shown on the screen. Can you tell us what is the whole layout about? What is this study about?
Thank you, firstly, for inviting me to come on and have a conversation around the study. I think it's so important. It's a long time coming, as you know, with all the events that we've had and obviously referrals that you've had, alhamdulillah, into the Lantern of Light for support. There's always been a request for support around a Muslim backed mental health support. Am I right? I mean, we're always trying to facilitate, positive mental health, but through our Islamic beliefs, that allow us to connect. So this study, a long time coming, but it's here, alhamdulillah. We really need to do our best to contribute to this study. And the best way to contribute is to support the study by signing up if you meet any of the criteria that was in the video. And I'm sure we can also post that in one of the social media posts with this video. So that would be great. Yeah. So alhamdulillah, we're here and we're having this conversation, which is great. The study is really amazing. As you can see, you have obviously with any study, there's it's a blind study. So you have either you're going to be involved with the normal CBT therapy or the adapted Islamic adapted therapeutic and group session. So both will be group sessions. There will be CBT group session and the adapted therapeutic group session. And then obviously from the results of that, whatever the outcomes are, if at the moment it's a feasibility study, we will then move on to the major, larger study.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. If you can just tell us what does CBT stand for?
Cognitive behavioral therapy. So within the UK and America and other countries, it's very much the kind of go-to therapeutic intervention. Although it doesn't meet everybody's needs, but majority of people benefit from CBT, and it's sometimes it's a good place to start as well. Hence, this is the place that we're adapting.
Absolutely perfect. That's so beautiful that it's a faith-based program with a typical mental health program. So I see this, nice collaboration, which is so important because, it's very therapeutic, as you said. So tell us, how does this make it more effective and more special for these young Muslim women?
So obviously I've seen the content, but that nobody else will see the content. And it's very clear that our Islamic identity is included within that. Now, if you're having therapy, the therapy focuses quite significantly on your identity, who you are. It helps to rebuild your confidence. It helps to rebuild who you are. It helps to, it's usually more positive led, right? So we don't always look at the issues. We will try and deal with some of the issues, but in a group setting, it will be more positive. Does that make sense? So more focus will be on how can we adapt things? How can we change things? And it's worth looking into CBT if you're interested, just to see how CBT is delivered. It's very interesting to see how it's delivered. And obviously this is an adapted study, but I think when we talk about identity, when we talk about rebuilding ourselves, we want Islam to be at the core of that. A lot of people have come to me to say, I have been through therapy within the NHS, and I don't feel that they understand me. And that's the big thing, right? They don't understand me. And obviously having, an Islamic adapted therapeutic intervention really helps in terms of, even within a group, there's that group kind of collaboration as well between each other within the group. So, you can even, form bonds and relationships where, you can take forward within group settings, but primarily, obviously, what this study is about is to see the benefits of the study, the outcomes, what do the individuals feel has been good about the study, where the improvements can be made, all of these kind of things. So it's really important for us to engage with a study like this so that, inshallah, this can then be adapted within, the NHS.
Okay, absolutely. Tell us that who can participate. So I know in the video it did mention 18 to 24-year-olds in particular, but is that the limit, or is there an opening for even other women?
So at the moment, it's only obviously because when you're doing a study, there needs to be really strict criteria in terms of how to gain the data. So for this study at the moment, it's 18 to 24. But who knows on the larger study whether that can change. So, and particularly 18 to 24, as you know, is a key time in people's lives. 18, they leave home, they go to university, or they start a job. So there's a lot of transition that happens between the ages of 18 and 24.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. Now, what are the possible benefits and risks of participating in this IM adopted study?
I wouldn't say there's any risks, because at the end of the day, any kind of contact in a therapeutic environment will always be helpful. Obviously, when you sign up, you will be asked to complete a questionnaire, to give us more information, as in the therapeutic team, more information about you to know whether you fit the remit. So obviously, we're looking at people that have mental health issues, that have had therapy in the past. But obviously, there's particular criteria. You obviously, if you've got somebody that's got very significant mental health issues where they're going to be triggered, maybe a group setting isn't the right place for them. Or somebody that doesn't actually have a mental health issue, but is just having a down day. Obviously, they won't meet the criteria. So there is obviously a criteria form to fill out. So please don't be put off by it. It's really essential to ensure that you are safeguarded, and your mental health is paramount here. We want to make sure that you achieve the best. So yeah.
Absolutely. So, Sister Farzana, I think you shared with me, the research that you've been doing, and in it, I was reading that Islamophobia intensifies mental health challenges. For example, 70% plus of those with mental health struggles reported experiencing Islamophobia. Can you just shed light upon this as well? How does this really affect or impact women's mental health?
I wouldn't say that affects everybody. It really depends on the level of integration you have within the community. And I think that's the key. That's why we're looking at, an Islamic adapted study, because there are many of us that struggle to integrate within the mainstream community. And as a result, then maybe that could be because of Islamophobia, or the fact that we just don't feel we're accepted within a community. So I mean, I don't want to focus primarily on Islamophobia, but the fact that, it goes up in relation to identity. Our identity, we might see, is very different from the mainstream identity. How we fit in the place of work, how we fit in even on the school run. Are we accepted? And again, it really depends on where you are. If there's a high, if you've got, a lot of Muslim people within a particular area, you're not going to experience Islamophobia at that level. But obviously, if you're somewhere where you don't have Muslim people there and you wear a hijab, then yes, obviously, if people aren't educated in what Islam is about or why we wear the hijab, then you will experience, particularly women, because men may not have that identification as women straight away. This your hijab?
Absolutely. Yes, that's a very valid point. So I think it's just about the ethnic minorities. Obviously, if you're surrounded in that sort of an area, depends, as you said, if many people are wearing the hijab, you won't feel a sense of low esteem. But of course, if you're in an area where there's a difference, then you're going to feel different and indigenous. There's a very important point about low mental health literacy, that many young Muslim women and their families struggle to identify symptoms or understand when to seek support. And sometimes religious explanations overshadow medical ones. What is your viewpoint on this, and how important should be to be very well versed and educated when it comes to mental health symptoms and awareness?
So firstly, I'll say it's not always necessarily an Islamic thing. It can be cultural from, obviously an Islamic background in terms of the community we're from or the country that we're from, elements of superstition, or, you're experiencing this because you're possessed, or, you don't have faith, or these kind of comments are sometimes passed without looking into or assessing the situation of that individual. And I think that's key. This is where, medical professionals, trained mental health professionals are able to assess your mental health, are able to see, what the symptoms are and how it's impacting you, how it's preventing you from growing, developing, becoming, the person that you want to be. And so I think, a lot of it is superstition as well. We have a lot of superstition that, you've done this bad deed, so as a result, this is what you're going through. But when we think about it, from Islamic perspective, and I'm sure within the Quran as well, we have emotions. We're entitled to feel a whole range of emotions. They have been created by Allah for a reason, from anger, jealousy, all the way through to happiness and excitement. And so if you are experiencing or stuck within an emotion for a certain period of time, how is that something that's not, it's definitely, an issue that we need to look at. Not necessarily an issue, I would say. I would say whatever you've gone through should be understood. It's all valid. It's how do we move on from that particular situation that you are in and that you're experiencing, and how is it impacting your life?
Right. Very true. If we see some of the examples from the Holy Quran and from our Ahlul Bayt alayhim assalam as well, of course we've seen even the highest of the prophets went through a phase of sadness or depression, and that is why this is a normal nature of a human being able to express our emotions rather than suppressing them. So it's very important to understand why do we feel a certain way in certain situations, and how can we basically regulate those emotions in a very positive manner. Now, again, when we are looking at some of the statistics over here, we find that particularly high prevalence of anxiety and depression, over 35%, has been reported in young women aged 18 to 30, largely from Bangladeshi and Pakistani Muslim communities in Britain. And around 45% have reported struggling with mental health. So do you think that, this is more basically, it exists more in these, within these Asian, women, Asian communities, rather than the non-Asian women, or it depends on the environment that you're living in and, on certain social factors? How have you seen it in your research?
So that's definitely the case. And this is why when we look at demographics as well, we've specifically tried to recruit not just nationwide, but on specific demographics, so we can look at, the difference. So all of that's been brought in. So when we think about it, obviously if you're come from a migrant community in terms of, more recently, so you're not the, second generation, your first generation within the UK, you can see that's the massive transition, or even just newly coming in. there's a massive transition there. And so obviously there will be elements of mental health. It's, how are you processing those emotions that you're experiencing? Are you allowed to process those emotions culturally? Are you allowed to process those emotions within your family? Do you have time to process those emotions? So again, if you look at the age between 18 and 24, women might be getting married within that time. They might be having children within that time. Do they have that ability to have therapeutic intervention? Do they know what's available? Do they speak English? Do they understand English? So all of these things are factors in terms of why we're seeing these statistics.
Right.
And do they go to the doctor because of their language barrier? Are they provided an interpreter when they go to the doctor? So there's a lot of things to think about. And also, from some countries back home, we don't generally go to the doctor. We will use kind of possibly Ayurvedic kind of, mixes that we might consume, whether it's a drink or a tablet, whatever it might be, or, we might be told to recite a dua or an ayat or something that's going to help heal you. And with all of that, go through all that first before you even think about going to the doctor. By then it might have become quite difficult for you to even get out of bed to go to see the doctor. So obviously we're talking about very different, there's a vast range of different issues that could result in mental health issues.
Yeah. So you did mention about, how sometimes we sort of take it for granted or ignore using, these medical services. And we just use like duas or, some sort of these herbs and whatever. This is something that's, I think these services are underused and are thought to be insufficient. So only 2.6% of Muslim referrals to NHS, right? What would you say? How important is it to actually make good use of NHS? And when we talk about therapies, like the completing a treatment course, for example, how important do you think are these things?
So I've always advocated, even for youth, when people say, "Oh, I'll take my family member to India to get their, health sorted over there, or I'll pay privately," or I will always say, go to the GP regardless whether you're using, herbal medicine or shifa or dua, whatever. Regardless, go and log it with the GP, have a conversation with the GP and just say, I don't feel good. Is there anything that you can offer? It doesn't mean that you have to take, if you get medication, it doesn't mean you have to take it at that point. It's starting that conversation. The point of that is it's logged within the NHS. They have that information, because a few years down the line, you may start to feel worse and you don't remember what your symptoms were early on. You don't know whether you have got worse. You don't know whether you're the same, but the GP can see the difference. You've come in and your symptoms have got worse, and they're able to plot those symptoms, over time as those symptoms progress or you get more symptoms. They're able to identify what might be wrong with you because of, this mixture of symptoms that you're experiencing. Now, when you're going through mental health issues, sometimes it can be so difficult for you to understand what's happening to yourself, because that feeling just feels like a big bubble, that you're stuck in this bubble of emotion, and sometimes it even manifests within the body and you start feeling sensations that are more somatic, or illnesses like, for example, fibromyalgia or other things that come about as a result possibly of your mental health, autoimmune diseases. So it's definitely important that you engage with your medical professional, because they can look at the range of symptoms you're experiencing, and then they can obviously give you advice accordingly, which will be something that you can discuss. It's not like you have to go there and take on whatever the GP says. It's a discussion that should be had.
Right. I agree to this point. Like, as we say, dua and dawa, prayers as well as medication are both important at the same time. It's not good to ignore one area and just rely on one thing and depend on that. So it's very important that you do get checked with a GP, and then at the same time, you're also doing your du'as and supplications and all of that. Okay, so we're almost heading towards the end of our program. Is there any special message or advice that you'd like to share with all the viewers on today's program regarding the IM adapted study? And also, how can it be a positive psychology treatment or cure for women at the moment currently?
So we all like to talk about our issues, but we can't always find somebody to talk about our issues with. And if we do, sometimes people are not interested. Sometimes we're in a position where people are scared. They don't want to hear. They don't, they find it a bit disturbing for themselves. So this creates a safe space for you to be able to talk about your issues and go through the therapeutic process. And that's with others as well. So I would highly recommend that and it's a free service, and obviously it's not through your GP as well, so you get the benefit of all of those as well. So
Right.
I would highly suggest that if you feel that you have mental health issues, please do sign up, and inshallah, again, once you've spoken to somebody, you feel so much better. So how wrong can it be for you? There's
Right.
only positivity that can come out of having these therapeutic conversations, and more so within an Islamic setting, Islamic perspective.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sister Farzana, for your precious time. I really appreciate that, you've come out here and, you've talked about this important, the IM adapted study with us. You've shared it with us. And I would like to encourage all our viewers as well to please sign up to this. Please, all the information was shared on the video that we had displayed on screen. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask Sister Farzana Hirji Karawali on her social media platforms as well. And feel free to share this message with all young Muslim women who are struggling with mental health issues at the moment. And inshallah, we'll be seeing you once again on another episode with another impactful discussion that will really, really benefit each one of you. With that, I'm praying for all of you and remembering you in my du'as. And inshallah, have a good evening. Jazakumullahu khairan. This is your host, Sakina Habib, signing off. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.